Have I got your attention? Yes? Good. Okay, yeah, I know I'm a bit late to the game about talking about this show. It's only been a few months since it ended. But oh, Skeleton Crew, how I adore you. I'm writing this up post my second rewatch of the whole series, and I had to show it some love. Genuinely, this series took me so much longer to get through than I thought it would for one particular reason. I didn't want it to end. I was enjoying it so much that I held off watching the final episode so I could pretend it was existing continuously for longer. Only to promptly watch it and dive back in for a second watch of the series so I could catch all the little things I missed. Listen, I've had these kids for only 4 months, and if anything were to happen to them, I'd kill everyone and then myself. So I figure, how about I give a great send-off and talk about all the awesome effects that went into making this amazing show. If you haven't seen it, spoilers ahead for the whole of Season 1, and hopefully we'll get a Season 2. Skeleton Crew is one of those series that really went back to the roots of Star Wars and used so much and so many practical effects. It had me giddy with joy with every new episode. I would like to think the main reason they did this was because of the kids. They aren't long-time trained actors who know how to work with something that isn't there. And honestly, I think it was for the best. Being able to see these fantastical aliens come to life on screen made episode 2 one of the best episodes of a Star Wars show there is. The way you can see how they move through the world and interact with it along the way, how the different aliens move side by side, it's amazing. The one thing Star Wars has always done well is practical. Heck, there's a whole term in the prop making world that exists because of Star Wars. Greebles. It's the art of adding bits and bobs that might be considered garbage to a prop to give it more life and depth than just having a flat surface. Now remember that term because we'll be coming back to it later on. But enough rambling talk. Let's jump in depth for what makes this series so special. Firstly, let's address the Mechian in the room, Neil.
Look at my son.
Neil is a marvel for what we can do when practical effects and visual effects artists work together to make one beautiful thing. The base of Neil is actually a costume that's worn by Robert Timothy Smith, the child actor and voice of Neil, and character actor Casey Borrowman. Borrowman studied the movements that Smith did when acting out the scenes, so when she donned the animatronic head for Neil, she could mimic his movements. They also made a version of the head for Smith to wear that didn't have a faceplate. This allowed for them to use motion capture cameras to get all of his facial expressions so they could be recreated. The head worn by Borrowman had a grate in the forehead that allowed for some vision of the space around her. On top of that, there was a puppeteer, Jason Matthews, just for the eyes, and another puppeteer, Rick Gallison, who had control over the rest of the face, and the trunk and the ears. All of them coming together to give this amazing performance as Neil. As stated by J. Allen Scott in an interview with StarWars.com, what's nice about animatronics and robotics is that it's having a resurgence. Neil's head is full of servos that are virtually silent, which we've never had before. Scott adds, now we can be in the same scene with 2 or 3 other characters and our animatronics are moving and performing and not affecting the dialogue anymore. This is something that wasn't possible in the past. There's a reason the animatronics in FNAF have those creaking and grinding noises. Up until the past few years, servos have been quite loud, and now we as an industry can use them in full force without driving the poor sound guys nuts. Now, for SM33. Alright, show of hands. Who got jump scared by him in that first scene? Because I know it woke me up for sure. What completely shook me is that he's a puppet. Just one big puppet. He's worn and operated by a puppeteer that's hidden behind him and then CGI'd out during the episodes. 33 moves in an exaggerated way. He's been deactivated for so long so that he doesn't stand at full height, whose joints move really rigidly. If you watch carefully, you can actually see how the puppeteer moves around the set to give this illusion and depth. There are bits and pieces that are CGI'd along the way. In episode 2, there's a couple of movements and moments where his arms move in a way and a speed that isn't really possible with the puppet, but it's such a clean transition that you don't see it on first glance. I only caught it on a second or third watch of that particular scene. Even his little eye rat, that's so real and tangible. It's a little puppet in a puppet. 33 is a type of Star Wars build that I can see the 501st Legion take off running with, trying to build their own. From behind-the-scenes images from the lovely folks at Legacy Effects, you can see how he's built. Starting from an armature frame to keep him lightweight, he was built up piece by piece using a lightweight plastic to give him shape and to match a full-scale render of the CGI model for reference. The lightweight plastic looks like it's easy to modify as final parts are constructed for each section. One of my favorite little design details that you can see in 33 are all the blaster shot burns that are on him, especially on his shield. This is a droid that's been through a lot, and the painters did a fabulous job showing that through all the little details that you can see. Onwards to episode 2, where I want to draw most of your attention. This is the episode that the show decides it wants to show you exactly how it sees this universe. As a real and tangible thing. Something you could touch, something you could feel, something alive. Almost every single alien you see on screen is real. Whether they're full costumes, prosthetics, droids, puppets. To both us and to the kids on screen, what we see is real. And it's terrifying. As space should be. The production team at Legacy Effects are the ones that took the helm on this project. These are the same people who brought Grogu to life in The Mandalorian and Professor Huyang from animation to live action in the Ahsoka series. They don't shy away when it comes to amazing practical things in Star Wars. Like most things in Star Wars, they start with mock-ups. Nowadays, these are done digitally, as you can create a full 3D render at the same time to later work off of. But previously, they were done, like all things, by hand. Because this episode is full of amazing creations, I'm going to go through it chronologically through the episode, so hold on tight as we jump into hyperspace. Right off the bat, we got a creature that helps dock the ship and sits on Fern's shoulder. That's also a puppet. It's being puppeteered from behind her. You can see it in its true puppet form without the CGI hiding the puppeteer in this behind-the-scenes image. The aliens that appear closer to camera have a lot more detail put into them and their costumes and designs than the ones that appear farther away, but it doesn't look like any of these are just rendered in. It looks like every single one of them is a costume in some way, shape, or form. When the lady crouches down to hide the girls and ask where they're from and why they're there, you get a great look at the side of her foot, and you can see that they gave her this unique foot shape. This is a common trick that cosplayers do when making hooves for characters and use a heelless heel to achieve the same look and silhouette. It's a very easy way of giving a character a little bit of extra detail without having to go extreme into it. Okay, this one I have to point out because I love a good pyro trick. But when the kids are trying to get away from the pirates wanting their money and the bowl gets flipped, that immediate fireball is CGI. Likely because fireballs near those lovely costumes was just a little too high risk. However, when the camera moves for a split second, the flame is real as everyone's backed away from it in the scene. I love the little details like that. Another one that we've got while they're stuck in jail is when he floats the key over. 100% that key is probably just hanging from a fishing line and it's just slowly being moved towards the actors. It's such an easy way of making a small object float, but my goodness, does it end up looking fantastic every time. Onwards onto the end of the series.
The crab is stop motion.
It's what? What do you mean the crab is stop motion?
The crab is stop motion.
What do you mean the crab is stop motion? Seriously, on my first watch of the series, I thought this was a fully digitally animated creature. But while doing some research to talk about this, I came across an interview with the creative team talking how they pulled this one off using miniatures, a green screen background, and some great acting from the kids. And a beautiful stop motion puppet. The mama crab, also known as Tetanus, in episode 6 is entirely done in stop motion animation. Over the course of a couple of weeks, Tippett Studios, who was founded by the legend Phil Tippett and has done other productions such as The Mandalorian and the original Star Wars trilogy, brought it to life. By making it real, it almost feels more alive. On top of that, stop motion has a particular sense of motion in its animation style that's very unique to it. Though it can be recreated with VFX, it's done best when done practically. It moves with weight, and when you limit the frame rate on it, it moves in this clunky and robotic way that's perfect for a creature that's a mix of material and machine. When you have to make something larger than life, a lot of times it's just easier to make it mini. Many times, in film and now in television, when you have these massive sprawling cityscapes that get destroyed or a large set, many places go with making a miniature version of this and use puppetry instead of CGI to create the monsters in this place. Skeleton Crew took this concept and ran with it, perfecting it in a way that Star Wars does best. Tetanus is a great example of a not so mini. By the time they were done adding all of the little details and greebles and kit mashing it together for all the details that you see on the shell, she weighed a whopping 15 pounds and needed a set of suspenders to hold her up when they used her in animation. Honestly, I could do a full video just talking about Tetanus and all the little details they put into her and into her amazing model. There's plaques on it that have the names in Arabesh of all the creative people who worked on her. There's droids and parts of different crafts in it that you don't see when you look at her from a distance, and you're not supposed to see them. That's the thing with this series. It reminds you of that sense of play and adventure. We've all been that kid pretending to have lightsaber fights with our friends, hoping to go on fabulous adventures to discover new worlds. We got to re-experience this with Skeleton Crew, a crew built up from the bones to show us what it means to be a kid again, what it means to have fun, and what it means to go back to those roots that made you great. Thank you guys so much for bearing with me as I took a little bit of a hiatus. I've got a lot of projects on the works, don't worry. I have another Star Wars project that'll be coming out right after this. And I've got many things planned for the summer. So with that all being said, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time.